cash rebate. The all-new Daytona, America's first turbocharged front-wheel drive, $500 cash rebate. 1984 Ram Chargers, $1,000 cash rebate. 1984 Dodge pickups and vans, $800 cash rebate. Also cash rebates on 84 convertibles, Vista wagons, and Aries K cars. That's cash rebates on 84s, but only at Las Vegas Dodge on both sides of town.
KLAS TV8 Las Vegas.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has issued a startling long-range weather warning to the world. It said today predictions that a so-called greenhouse effect will warm temperatures worldwide and could promote drastic changes locally are coming true, and they may be coming soon. Lim Tucker reports on what a difference a few degrees can make.
The slow rise in the Earth's temperatures could have severe social, agricultural, and financial impact on the world. What is happening is what scientists call the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is yet another price mankind pays for progress, because all the gas, oil, coal, fossil fuels we burn create carbon dioxide gas, which escapes into the atmosphere. Sunlight passes through the gas on its way to Earth, but the carbon dioxide traps much of the sun's heat when it tries to return to space. The result, bit by bit over many decades, that trapped heat has and will continue to raise earthly temperatures.
On average, it will be warmer. The frequency of hotter days will be greater. I mean, that's one of the major implications.
By 2100, the increase could be as much as 9 degrees. And since the impact will be greatest in northern climates, New York City could feel much like Miami Beach. In polar regions, the warming will mean some melting, and so the altering of sea levels in shorelines around the world. And the heat could eventually alter growing conditions. Less rain and more heat in traditional agricultural areas could affect the food supply, but better growing conditions might result somewhere else.
If we know an area is going to get drier in the future, we can begin to breed plants that will be able to be suited to that environment. We can begin to do water works that assure a supply of water to that area. Eventually, people are going to react. The only issue is how quickly do they react?
The Environmental Protection Agency says not even massive reductions in the burning of fossil fuel will keep the temperatures from going up, but that the effects of the rising temperatures can be reduced by planning now for the inevitable. Lem Tucker, CBS News, Washington.
Snipers were on the attack in Beirut again today, this time killing 2 Lebanese soldiers and wounding a member of the Italian peacekeeping force. The Lebanese government, meanwhile, announced that a location finally has been agreed upon for a peace conference. It will begin Thursday at Beirut's airport, where U.S. Marines are stationed. 1,600 Marines are there now, with 200 more on ships offshore. Their Lebanon tour of duty is almost over. The Marines who will replace them left today from Morehead City, North Carolina, and Bruce Hall was there.
For Sergeant Douglas Graybill, the voyage to Beirut began early this morning. His son joined him for a walk across the fog-shrouded base to join his buddies in the staging area. 1,800 Marines leaving for 6 months' duty in Lebanon. It's never easy to leave home, but this time it was more difficult. The killing of a Marine on Sunday, the 6th to die in combat there, and the reports of increased sniping weigh heavily on the families.
Will you make it back?
I'll be back.
Watch.
I'll be back. Finally, it was time for Sergeant Graybill to say his goodbyes to his wife and his 2 small children. As the Marines boarded the buses, some said a silent prayer. So did their wives. By the time the Marines had reached the port where they would board the ships, their mood had changed.
For more than a third of these men, this is their second trip to Lebanon, and most are looking forward to it.
I'm ready to go, do my job, take care of business.
Looking forward to it, you know. It's our role to do it.
The commander said Marines are aggressive by nature, and therefore this could prove to be a very trying assignment. He said being a peacemaker when you're being shot at can be the most difficult job of all. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Morehead City, North Carolina.
One of the U.S. Marine victims of the Beirut snipers, Sergeant Alan J. Seufert, was buried today in his hometown of Nashua, New Hampshire. The 25-year-old explosives expert was on his second tour of duty in Lebanon when he was fatally wounded last Friday. His mother said he told her that the first time there wasn't so bad. The second time, she added, he said it was like a real war.
Guess who's handling all my investments? My bank. Because they pay me a return that's just great.
So does my investment firm.
I know that every dollar I have in the bank today will still be growing tomorrow.
Well, when the market's going up, I do just fine.
What's really terrific is there's nothing iffy about my investments. They're all federally insured. Rock solid safe.
Oh, sorry.
See the professionals about risk-free investments at America's banks for security with no ifs.
There are multivitamins, and there are multivitamins. Vitamins that are flaky, bumpy, crispy, crunchy, and taste oh so good. It's new Kellogg's Product 19. More vitamin nutrition than any other cereal. But you'd never know by tasting, because Product 19 goodness comes from corn, oats, wheat, and rice. Delicious. New Kellogg's Product 19 cereal. Flaky, bumpy, crispy, crunchy. Vitamins.
The fall offensive by rebels in El Salvador is in full force now, and the action today was in the capital's backyard. Gary Shepard reports.
It was the closest the war has come to the capital in more than 3 months. Before dawn today, guerrilla forces struck the tiny village of El Rosario, less than a dozen miles from downtown San Salvador. 3 civil defense soldiers were killed and 1 was wounded. A young boy also died. A few hours after they attacked El Rosario, the same band of guerrillas turned up on this important highway only 25 miles from the capital. For several hours, they controlled the road, even bragging that while the army was up there in the hills looking for them, here they were, right out in the open, only a stone's throw from the city of Suchitoto. Their leader claimed there were 400 guerrillas in this unit, and indeed, while we were there, at least 200 emerged from the hills, paused briefly on the highway, then moved back into the tall elephant grass on the other side. Most were wearing standard-issue Salvadoran Army uniforms, taken, they said, during previous battles. And their weapons were mostly American-made. M16 rifles, M60 machine guns, hand grenades, even field radios, all captured from government forces. There was no evidence of aid from the communist bloc by way of Nicaragua. This guerrilla's backpack even had U.S. markings still on it. He boasted that President Reagan, by sending military aid to the Salvadoran army, is, in effect, supplying the rebel side as well. And he said he hopes the aid will continue. Gary Shepard, CBS News, near Suchitoto, El Salvador.
2 of the main and most controversial features about the cost to you of the January 1st breakup of the phone company tonight are on temporary hold. The Federal Communications Commission has voted to suspend, at least until April 3rd, the imposition of monthly fees for long distance, $2 for home phones, up to $6 for businesses. The FCC also voted to delay AT&T's proposed 10.5% cut in long-distance rates over the same period. The FCC says it needs more time to study the thousands of pages of proposed rate changes. In the largest ever agreement of its kind, General Motors today settled a sex and race discrimination case costing the company $42.5 million. One of the most unusual terms of the settlement is that GM will pay $15 million to provide college scholarships for employees and their families. The case took 10 years to settle. The almost single-handed effort by conservative Senator Jesse Helms to block the creation of a Martin Luther King Jr. national holiday today suffered 2 crushing defeats. Helms was stymied on the floor of the Senate, and in federal court, he was refused access to FBI files about the slain civil rights leader. But as Phil Jones reports, the bitterest part of the battle came in the Senate, where old wounds were reopened and there were new hurt feelings all around.
Senators paid little attention to the document that had been placed on their desk today from conservative Senator Jesse Helms, suggesting in Helms' words, a substantive working relationship between Dr. King and key elements of the Communist Party of the U.S. The vote was overwhelming 76-12 against a motion that would have in effect killed the bill. It was a bitter debate that clearly discouraged even some fellow Republicans.
The stale gossip and the unconfirmed rumors that Jesse Helms is talking about have no place in the debate over the founding of that holiday.
On the floor, Senator Kennedy accused Helms of using his late brothers as part of a smear campaign against King.
They regarded Martin Luther King's associates, many of them, as being communist. And they called in King and said, stop it. And he didn't stop it. So Mr. Kennedy's argument is not with Jesse Helms. It is with his dead brother John and his dead brother Robert.
These charges and allegations were made by arch segregationists in the early part of the 1960s to discredit the civil rights movement.
Lawyers for Helms were in court today requesting that FBI documents on King, sealed for 50 years, be opened. That request was denied, and one former Justice Department official who has seen the sealed documents discounted their relevancy.
There was nothing in the files, either in tapes or written records, that I saw that indicated that Martin Luther King was a communist or a communist sympathizer or in any way knowingly or negligently let himself be used by communists.
This has clearly turned into a sticky political problem for many senators. Some who had planned to vote against the holiday because it would be too costly to the economy now plan to vote for it tomorrow, claiming that Senator Helms has turned it into a racial issue. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Researchers today said they've developed vaccines to prevent herpes, hepatitis, and influenza by inserting genes from those viruses into smallpox vaccines. New York State Health Department scientists said that it probably will be at least 2 years before the vaccines are ready for human trials, but a scientist said the technique has tremendous potential and could lead to a single vaccine that might protect against as many as a dozen diseases.
Hello. I like this Remington microscreen rechargeable shaver so much, I bought the company. It shaves as close as a blade, or I'll give you your money back. The first microscreen is so thin it shaves incredibly close. The second even closer. And Remington's American-made. It costs less. Norelco's imported. It costs much more. The Remington microscreen rechargeable shaver shaves as close as a blade, or your money back.
And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift, shaves without a cord.
A message about dependability from the metropolitan insurance companies. Some things in life are constant, like the flow of water to the sea. And just as you can depend on that, you can depend on Metropolitan to really stand by you. Over 47 million people know that when they need us, we're there. Like water flowing to the sea, you can count on Metropolitan. For life, health, auto, home, and retirement, Metropolitan really stands by you.
Congressional negotiators today agreed to an 18-month extension of the special jobless benefits for more than 500,000 long-term unemployed. Unemployment wasn't talked about much in the campaign leading up to today's special congressional election in a Georgia district, the district of the late Larry McDonald. The main issue, as CBS News correspondent Sandy Gilmore reports, was the campaign run by McDonald's widow to fill out his term.
As the widow of a congressman killed in the Korean Airlines tragedy, Kathy McDonald received a lot of sympathy. But now, running for her husband's office, she has drawn criticism, accusations of being icy, opportunistic.
The death of Larry McDonald at the hands of the Russians made him an instant martyr in the eyes of ultra-conservatives. His widow lost little time in picking up McDonald's far-right anti-communist cause.
The morning the tragedy was announced, she calmly called for sanctions against the Soviets.
Well, she struck me as being rather cold. You know, she apparently started running before they even knew that he was, you know, dead.
She seemed to really handle it well, and I think people took note of her strength during that time.
Mrs. McDonald admits she does not fit the image of the reclusive Southern widow.
My mourning, my grief is very private.
I am a private person, and that's the way I've always conducted my life.
Conservative political contributors helped produce this TV commercial, an obvious appeal to her late husband's memory.
I love my husband, and I believe deeply in his cause. I'm running for Congress so that his work, his fight will continue.
Many of her 18 opponents are furious she would not debate specific issues with them. Some say she's playing on sympathy.
She and those who have handled her campaign have made a very emotional use of the tragic death of her husband and 268 other people in a very crass political fashion.
One opponent's radio commercial ends this way.
So on October 18th, give Kathy McDonald your sympathy, but not your vote.
But the sympathy is there, perhaps even more, as the Ice Lady image finally cracked this weekend during a ceremony for her late husband. She remains front runner, but if she fails to get more than 50% of the vote, Kathy McDonald will face a runoff and 3 more weeks of an increasingly bitter campaign. Sandy Gilmore, CBS News, Marietta, Georgia.
The man who shot the Pope, Turkish-born terrorist Mehmet Ali Agca, was taken under heavy guard today to St. Peter's Square and other Vatican locations to reenact his May 1981 attack. The 2-hour return to the scene of the crime was requested by lawyers for a Bulgarian Agca has implicated. Richard Roth reports.
A circle of policemen surrounded Agca as he was led by court officials, lawyers, and interpreters around the same Vatican neighborhood where he had walked more than 2 years ago, just before he shot the Pope. Don't try to answer their questions, warned Chief Investigating Judge Ilario Martella, as reporters and photographers tried to press close to Agca. Authorities took the convicted gunman to a bar where he claims he had telephoned Bulgarian accomplices before the shooting. And he was questioned in front of the Canadian Embassy to the Holy See, where he says a getaway car was supposed to have been waiting, supplied by Sergei Antonov, the Bulgarian airline official arrested in Rome last November, still in jail awaiting trial. Later, Agca and Antonov were questioned in private, in prison, though lawyers defending the Bulgarians say the interrogation and the reconstruction of Agca's story added nothing new to a case they insist is getting weaker. Agca has already been warned once that authorities consider some elements in his broad charge of Bulgarian conspiracy to be untrue. If Italy does decide the case is solid enough to try in court, there is still a big question whether Agca will be believable as the key witness for the prosecution. Richard Roth, CBS News, the Vatican.
Every 6 months, American Airlines pilots fly thousands of miles.
Now let's try it in daylight.
Without ever leaving this room. A flight simulator at the American Airlines Flight Academy. Captain Jim Roberts has been with American 18 years, but he still comes back here twice a year. We taught Captain Roberts a lot, but some things we didn't have to teach him. Hi.
We're American Airlines, doing what we do best.
The next time you make a long-distance business call, think about this. Long distance is important to every business, and only one long-distance company can connect you with anyone, anywhere in the world. AT&T. We can custom design a network for you and help increase productivity and manage costs. That's enough to satisfy any business, even accounting. AT&T. We're what you call long distance.
The Pentagon confirmed today that President Reagan now has the report of Defense Secretary Weinberger about the president's so-called Star Wars strategy, a report assessing the feasibility of space-age and, in some cases, space-based systems designed to fend off any Soviet nuclear missile attack. But White House spokesman Larry Speakes refused to confirm a published report today that supposedly outlines the actual recommendations. That report in Aviation Week magazine says the advice to President Reagan will be for an accelerated 5-year, multi-billion-dollar program to develop such weapons. Space war weapons the Soviet Union is known to be working on, too. Pentagon correspondent David Martin has been investigating this subject, and tonight he has the first of 3 special reports on space, the final frontier of war, and the first Soviet and U.S. steps to move the space wars concept from drawing board to launch pad. It is an incredible hulk,
a space barge for...
This is the Pentagon's first spaceport, under construction at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California and scheduled for completion this time next year. Someday, space shuttles loaded with military hardware and personnel may blast off from here as routinely as ships setting sail from ocean ports.
Space systems.
Are you going to exert control of space or not? The Soviets are doing all they can in space. You can't afford to flirt with that balance of power.
Today, U.S. military satellites in orbit, and the number is accelerating. Production of navigation satellites at this Rockwell plant in Los Angeles has been stepped up from 2 a year to 8. The shuttle will be the mothership for many of these satellites, hauling them into orbit and retrieving them for repair. In order to control all this space hardware, both the Air Force and Navy have created separate space commands. And the Air Force is building a $1 billion space operations center on this desolate Colorado prairie.
Space has become a theater of operations.
Also testing the prototype of a space plane which could carry cosmonauts or weapons into space on short notice without the elaborate countdown of a rocket launch. The people who keep track of all that stuff up there work down here, deep inside Colorado's Cheyenne Mountain. With 200 U.S. and Soviet military satellites in orbit, space is becoming a potential battleground full of lucrative targets which must be destroyed in time of war. The Russians have already conducted about 20 tests of an anti-satellite weapon that would maneuver close to an American satellite and blow it up. But this...
I wouldn't say that it would maim us to any severe degree, because we've dispersed our capabilities.
That raises the question of whether the U.S. really needs to join the arms race in space by developing an anti-satellite weapon of its own, or whether it should agree to Soviet leader Andropov's call for a moratorium on anti-satellite weapons. The Pentagon, however, seems set on its course.
It's time to demonstrate our national resolve to protect our assets in space.
The satellite negation mission is going to be our mission for the future.
And with weapons in space, will man be far behind?
We are interested in the role of military man in space. If there are weapons based in space, it's going to take a lot of man presence.
And military man in space will inevitably demand the right to defend himself.
An attack on such a space station would mean an attack on the sovereign territory of a nation. If you want to defend yourself on such a space station, there are ways to do that.
In our next report, a look at the exotic weapons which man might use to fight the Star Wars of the future. David Martin, CBS News, Livermore, California.
When President Reagan came into office, his appointees rescinded rules requiring automatic seatbelts or airbags in new cars. The courts have since ruled that the decision was arbitrary. Today, the Transportation Department came out with its latest proposals, but they still do not require such safety devices. Instead, Transportation Secretary Elizabeth Dole proposed for automatic seatbelts and airbags more studies.
Here comes the most advanced piece of machinery in shaving history, the new Norelco Rotatract, the razor that challenges the world. Every blade, every electric, every shaving instrument ever made, in closeness, comfort, speed, and quality. It's the shaving machine you've been waiting for, or your money back. Advanced technology Rotatract razors, the first to challenge the world. New from Norelco.
Class, today we prepare ground beef.
Where's the A1 steak sauce?
A1, that's for steak.
That's the whole idea. There is steak in ground beef. A1's herbs and spices bring out its great flavor. A1 makes ground beef taste like ground steak. Just mix 3 tablespoons into every pound for juicy, tastier hamburgers that are really delicious.
Mmm, the A1 difference.
Class? A1 makes ground beef taste like ground steak.
I can't believe I sold Dr. Scholl's air pillow insoles for 9 years in my drugstore and never tried them till today. The comfort is unbelievable from this little insole.
Only Dr. Scholl's has the air pillow. It squeezes millions of air bubbles into the super thin cushion, so the pillow takes the pounding instead of your feet.
5 o'clock, and I feel like I've got a new pair of feet.
Dr. Scholl's air pillow insoles, comfort so complete it's like a new pair of feet.
As Sid Charisse said in the movie Silk Stockings, champagne is more fun to drink than goat's milk. As Don Cladstrip reports tonight from France's Champagne region, these days it also is more plentiful.
What a waste.
It may seem like a waste, but there's plenty more where it came from. Much more. Because in France's Champagne country, a record harvest is underway. It is so big that growers and producers expect it to far surpass the one hauled in last year, and that one had been hailed as the harvest of the century. This year, growing conditions have been nearly perfect, the right amount of sun, just enough rain. So abundant are the vines that there are barely enough people to do the picking. Calls for additional help have gone out. Champagne makers say they've never seen anything like it. Last year was crazy, said one official. This year is just out of this world. The Grand Maisons of this region expect to produce 300 million bottles of champagne this year, a 25% increase over last year's level. With 2 exceptional harvests in a row, champagne companies will be able to rebuild stocks run down by lean crops the 3 years before. Prices paid by producers, the manufacturers, are coming down. What about consumer prices? Will they come down too?
Never. I think I never saw a price going down.
It was a 17th century monk named Dom Perignon who first realized how tantalizingly delicious champagne can be. I think I am tasting the stars. His words 300 years ago. Today in the vineyards where he worked, his words are just as true. Don Cladstrup, CBS News, Epernay, France.
Cheers, Dan Rather. Good night.
This year, Mr. Wilson bought a Volkswagen, the new Rabbit Sparmeister, our value leader. It cost only $6,390. It's German engineered, and he assumed it would last a long, long time. How could he make this assumption? Because 20 years ago, Mr. Wilson bought a Volkswagen. Rabbit Sparmeister. It's not a car, it's a Volkswagen.
There's more to John Hancock than life insurance.
In my business, creating something new isn't enough. It has to be what people want. That's why the John Hancock companies constantly develop new financial services that people like me really need. Everything from employee benefits programs to mutual funds, even auto and home reinsurance. When John Hancock offers something new, there's a future in it.
John Hancock. We can help you here and now, not just hereafter.
Fran, I'll be with Dr. Sims.
Wait a minute.
What's wrong?
You need the breath deodorant.
You're kidding. I did have onion soup.
Here, Claret's will take care of it.
Claret's?
Claret's is the breath deodorant. It'll freshen your breath fast.
Only Claret's has Actisol with chlorophyll and helps your mouth's own freshening power eliminate bad breath.
The breath deodorant does cost a bit more, but it's worth it.
Thanks.
Anytime.
For fresh breath fast Claret's, the breath deodorant.
For a complete look at local and national news of the day, stay tuned for Southern Nevada's most watched newscast.
This is CBS.
Coming up next on Eyewitness News, the Public Service Commission has refused to throw out Nevada Power's rate request.
A doctor with a criminal record may have been involved in a local weight control clinic closed down by authorities, and new details of a local attorney's decision not to seek a federal judgeship are coming to light in the national press.
Also in the next hour, tags have been issued for the upcoming Nevada bighorn sheep hunting season. 111 in all, and one went for big bucks.
Godden Ford's final checkpoint. It's here we decide whether our trade-ins meet our stiff requirements for resale. Out here, complete with Godden Ford's exclusive car care coverage policy. Good for 12 months or 12,000 miles. Try getting that from a friend or a relative, or a guy with his car or truck for sale up on the corner. At Godden Ford, if a trade-in is in late model, low mileage, in the mainstream, and mechanically sound, we'll wholesale it to a broker. He'll sell it to somebody else. Because if it doesn't make it back here, it'll never make it out there.
The Las Vegas Hilton presents the entertainment bargain of the year. Baldu Moulin Rouge. It's the ultimate in entertainment. The new edition of Baldu Moulin Rouge, starring Red Hot Charles, the one show you won't want to miss. With an international cast of 80, the Can-Can goes Coochie Coochie. Dinner show starting at $16.50, midnight cocktail show for $12.50. Moulin Rouge starring Red Hot and Lively Charles, only at the Las Vegas Hilton.
This is KLAS TV 8 Las Vegas. From News Center 8, this is the award-winning Eyewitness News with Gail Westrup, Gary Waddell, Ron Vito with sports, Chuck Russell with the weather, and the Eyewitness News team.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The State Public Service Commission late this afternoon denied a motion that would have thrown out Nevada Power Company's request for a $33.5 million rate increase. Today's decision was a victory for the power company, but only a minor one. The big question of the rate hike itself still has to be decided. Stephanie Lucero reports.
The dispute was centered around a legal technicality, whether or not the entire rate increase request should be thrown out, because Nevada Power Company failed to post the effects of the proposed increase. But Nevada Power Company's attorney says the utility gave customers adequate notice by sending information out with its bills. But at least one customer disagrees with that claim.
The bill stuffer was misleading when they had the asterisk next to the figure that indicated about a $10 a month increase for the average consumer. I feel, if anything, I'm a very moderate consumer.
But by a vote late today, the Public Service Commission threw out the motion to dismiss the case, and the rate increase hearings will resume tomorrow. Stephanie Lucero, Eyewitness News 8.
Despite a morning-long hearing, the State Public Service Commission still has not resolved the bitter dispute between Southwest Gas and Nevada Power. Power company wants to stop paying monthly service fees to Southwest Gas, a move the gas company opposes. Well, today, the PSC failed to resolve the issue when questions arose about whether Commission member Renee Hammond-Gild should be allowed to vote on the question. Gild's father-in-law is on the board of directors at Southwest Gas. Other PSC members decided to refer the question of Gild's participation in the vote to the newly created State Ethics Committee. Nevada Power says it wants to stop using gas supplied by Southwest Gas and plans to use more cost-efficient fuels in the future. But Southwest Gas says this would be a violation of the contract. At issue is a monthly payment of $344,000 paid by the power company to Southwest Gas.
Local attorney Morton Gillane has apparently confirmed in Eyewitness News report that cash gifts he offered to reporters played a role in his withdrawal as a federal judge candidate. The Wall Street Journal reports today that Gillane admits offering goodwill gifts to 2 local reporters. Eyewitness News reported Thursday that after the FBI learned of these gifts, Gillane withdrew his name from consideration as Nevada's next federal judge. George Knapp has more on the Journal's report.
April 1983, the name of Morton Gillane was forwarded to the president by Paul Laxalt for nomination to the federal bench. But Gillane faced a potentially ticklish problem, a pending case in which he was being sued for legal malpractice. 2 weeks before the case was scheduled to go to trial, Gillane had meetings with 2 news reporters. One of those reporters, Bill Becker, who then worked for the Las Vegas Sun, told the FBI that Gillane offered him $200 in cash as a goodwill gesture. He returned money because he thought it was inappropriate to accept it. Today, Gillane is quoted in the Wall Street Journal as admitting to the FBI that he offered the money. The Journal quotes the attorney as saying that he also offered cash to a second reporter and that person kept the money. At least one other reporter, Gary Ebbels of the Review-Journal, was interviewed by the FBI during their background investigation of Gillane, but Ebbels emphatically denied accepting any money. Why does any of this matter? Well, from a journalism standpoint, it could result in compromised integrity, according to David Kelly, the president of the local Professional Journalism Society. Said Kelly, the Professional Code of Ethics prohibits the receipt of any gifts of material value. As for legal ethics, neither the Reno nor the Las Vegas office of the State Bar Association can answer any questions about whether such a practice is a violation of codes. Gillane told the Wall Street Journal that he offered the money because he hoped that, quote, if there was any reporting on the malpractice case at a later date, that such reporting would be fair and accurate. Gillane denied, however, that he was trying to influence the reporter's coverage of his case. Did this influence Gillane's decision to withdraw his nomination? According to the Wall Street Journal, Gillane mentioned other reasons for the decision, such as his wife's poor health, but that the incidents with the 2 reporters were factors in his decision to step aside. Finally, there is the question of what role Senator Paul Laxalt played in all of this. Remember, it was Laxalt who first recommended Ghislaine to the president, and according to the Journal, Ghislaine was nominated on July 21st at Laxalt's continued insistence, even though the FBI reports had already been forwarded to the White House. The Journal story said that Laxalt withdrew his support only after the American Bar Association decided to reevaluate Ghislaine's credentials for the appointment. Senator Laxalt's office is keeping a tight lip on the affair. Aides today refuse to return our phone calls. George Knapp, Eyewitness News, 8.
The president's name is also popping up in the probe of a Las Vegas weight control clinic. State narcotics officials closed down the medical weight control clinic for allegedly allowing unlicensed staff members to administer dangerous drugs. Well, now authorities say that the doctor who was heading up that clinic may be the same physician whose felony record was expunged by then California Governor Ronald Reagan. Mark Fierro reports.
Today, Eyewitness News interviewed a former staff member of the clinic. That staffer told us that even though she had no formal medical training, she was expected to give injections to patients on a daily basis. But doctors say injections administered by laymen can be a risky business.
One of the major hazards would be if the injection is given into a nerve, you can paralyze a particular muscle or even an extremity. If you happen to inject the drug, and it be a drug that does not belong in the vascular system, then what can happen is that you can actually kill a person.
The doctor is in no way affiliated with the medical weight control clinic. Yesterday, state pharmacy officials moved in and seized an enormous amount of medication from that clinic. They took the action after hearing charges that drugs were allegedly handled improperly. Today, the clinic was open, but not treating patients. An office staffer answered the phone, explaining to clients that the clinic would temporarily be shut down. Meanwhile, state officials are having trouble tracking down drug purchasing records from the clinic. All purchasers of pharmaceuticals are bound by law to file Federal Drug Enforcement, or DEA 222 forms. Authorities are investigating. And law enforcement sources are also investigating the possibility that Dr. Donald Curry Allen may be the same Dr. Donald Curry Allen who has been arrested on a number of felony charges in California. Law enforcement records show that Dr. Donald Curry Allen had his record expunged by then California Governor and now U.S. President Ronald Reagan. One thing is certain, Signet Corporation, which operates the medical weight control clinic, is no small change outfit. State investigators believe the group is one of the largest wholesale purchasers of diet drugs in the country. The same corporation runs 16 clinics in California. Mark Fierro, Eyewitness News 8.
Former State Senator Floyd Lamb's listed in stable condition tonight at Valley Hospital. He checked into that facility today and will undergo a series of tests beginning tomorrow for a recurring heart problem. His attorney, Richard Wright, says Lamb complained of chest pains during and following his recent Yobo bribery trial. Wright says Lamb was living on glycerin tablets, and he's concerned about the effect that another trial might have on the former senator's health. Lamb is scheduled to go to court on extortion charges on the 7th of next month, but Wright says he may ask for a delay depending on the outcome of the tests. Lamb was convicted last month of accepting a $20,000 bribe from an FBI undercover agent.
Well, yet another monkey wrench has been thrown in the deal to sell the Landmark Hotel. The Bill Morris will have the latest on that sale coming up.
And a fire this afternoon completely destroyed a mobile home. Firefighting efforts were hampered by the home's remote location. We'll have that story as well. Stay with us.
Hand-carved in Switzerland. Solid 18-karat gold. Water-resistant quartz. The Piaget Polo Day Date. The ultimate sports watch.
Available at Neiman Marcus at the fashion show.
Hi, this is Jackie Olden, and you're on the air.
Hey, Jackie, what was that you said about Shakey's Pizza?
Well, I like to say Shakey's is lots of and good.
What?
You get lots of cheese, lots of toppings, and that adds up to lots of good taste. You know they use a blend of at least 3 natural cheeses, and they make their dough fresh every day.
Wow. Hey, I really like their thick crust pizza, don't you?
Oh, it's my favorite, but my family goes for the original thin crust. But we all love what we get in every Shakey's pizza.
Yeah. Lots of cheese, lots of toppings.
And lots of good taste.
Do you get your money's worth when you buy gasoline? These Shell customers do.
I feel I get my money's worth when I go to Shell.
whether it be full service or self-service.
I come here to Shell, and I know the gas is going to treat me right, treat my car right. My car.
Boy, I'd see that big golden Shell sign up there. That'd make you feel a lot better.
There never was a better time to switch to Shell.
Shell is great.
A fire early this afternoon completely destroyed a mobile home just off Blue Diamond Road, about 5 miles west of Interstate 15. Firemen were hampered in fighting the blaze by the remote location of that home. Paul Dawkins reports.
The fire broke